welcome all of you who are attending this webinar. It's been a fascinating journey from Jaipur to bring Tarang Arora in our midst today. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Tarang, for agreeing to do this so very spontaneously. On behalf of the chairman and the trustees of the CSMVS and the Director General, Mr. Sabyasachi Mukherjee, and on behalf of the Executive Committee and members of the Museum Society, and on my own behalf, Tarang, a very, very warm welcome to you. I was in Jaipur in February 2020, just before the pandemic hit us, and we went into a completely different gear in our world. I was delighted to be introduced to Tarang by somebody who's on the webinar today. Most of you may know her, but we all definitely knew her uncle, the late Dr. Andhare. Thank you, Aparna, for making this introduction and for joining us, not from Jaipur, but from your relocated town of Pune. So that was the connection with the Museum Society, and I'm delighted that this lecture is taking place today. A few words about our speaker for this evening. Tarang Arora is the creative director of Amrapali Jewels. Born and raised in Jaipur, Tarang comes from a family credited as the creators of one of India's most magnificent heritage jewelry brands, Amrapali. Having a retail presence in over 38 locations world over, including India and internationally. Amrapali Jaipur is a celebration of the timeless Indian art of adornment and authentic master craftsmanship, breathing new life into centuries-old traditions of jewelry. Amrapali embodies a unique, bold, and eclectic style. Like the legend of its namesake, a renowned courtesan of ancient India, an image of which Tarang will show us, Amrapali Jaipur is the expression of a mysterious, eternal world of delight. The love of creating and designing jewelry came naturally to Tarang, and he decided to academically pursue this study in this field at GIA London, where he successfully graduated as a gemologist. Along with this, he also studied jewelry designing and manufacturing. He joined the Amrapali Group in 2004 and today heads the International Operations and Design team. He was instrumental in getting Amrapali, a well-known, well-respected Indian brand made in India, to Harrods and start Amrapali's international flagship store in Beauchamp Place in London. Under his guidance, Amrapali Jewels has recently launched a museum called Amrapali Museum for showcasing Indian jewelry and craftsmanship, as well as a research center for designers who are keen to study Indian jewelry. And that's what took me into the Amrapali store. And after having feasted on all the jewelry, and you know how we Indian ladies are, may not be buying everything, but we certainly can appreciate a lot of it, Tarang said, "We have a museum. Would you like to see it?" And there, 3 floors below the entry level of the museum was this fabulous collection, which he's going to talk about today. A few words about the collection, if you'll indulge me. It's profoundly different, both in its nature and in the way it has been collected. For the founders, Rajiv Arora, Tarang's father, and Rajesh Ajmera, a very, very close friend of his father's. They are like brothers, and you will meet them during the course of this evening. The collection has been a labor of love that began nearly 40 years ago when they became friends at college, and that continues to this day. They were initially spurred by a general love for art and all things handcrafted, a legacy from their hometown of Jaipur, which has a history of engagement with the industrial arts, as they were known in the 19th and 20th centuries, which led them to travel as young men to see as much as they could of India. The museum also seeks to explore the enormous range of inspirations for design that were available to Indian craftsmen over time from nature, religion, geometry, and international trends seen through both the jewelry as well as the range of silver objects in their collection, from spittoons, rosewater sprinklers, and pan sets, to plates, tea sets, and an assortment of boxes in every shape, size, and type of craftsmanship, to personal accessories as small as a toothpick or elaborately made silver shoe covers. And the most extravagant item that I saw, and I hope if we don't see it on the slideshow, we can all come to Jaipur one day and have a personal tour of the Amrapali Museum by Tarang. It's a chariot covered with silver. The significance of Indian heritage through various objects with different work and craftsmanship, covering our country's immense diversity. You can see I'm absolutely in love with what they've done. And I have visited some of their outlets in Bombay by chance, not deliberately, but now I know what the name and the label and the family stands for. So Tarang, welcome on behalf of all of us here today, and we're really looking forward to your lecture. I would just end by thanking a few people here, other than Tarang and his family, our technical team. We have done over 45 lectures now. We are an NGO, as most of you know, and we work slowly, but we work diligently and we work regularly. And I couldn't do this, none of us could do this, whichever webinar you're on, without a technical team. I would really like to thank Jason, Anita, Yashraj, Ammi, Sanjana, Ranis, and Natasha. A lot of them have joined us today. Why? Because of the topic of jewelry. So thank you, gentlemen, and all the ladies. And now I hand you over to the technical team to begin this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Godrej, for such a detailed introduction, such a flattering one. Hi everyone. I'm going to talk about the Amrapali Museum today. I have planned a short presentation, which will take you through to the journey of Amrapali, a bit about Amrapali, and then the museum. Right at the end, we have my father and uncle also joining us. They'll be coming here, and for the question answers, you can ask questions to any three of us. So the story of Amrapali goes back to around 500 BC. During the time of Buddha, a little girl was found under a mango tree by a young couple. Him and his wife, who were childless, brought her up as their own and groomed her under the most illustrious gurus of that time. She was named Amrapali. Am means mango and Pali means shelter, hence Amrapali, a gift from the mango tree. It was said she grew to be a lady of extraordinary beauty, charm, and grace, whose glories transcended much beyond the territories of India. She was presented the status of the state courtesan. At the age of 11, she was declared the most beautiful lady by the state. Her popularity was such that it brought numerous young nobles of India, her suitors, to fight for her hand in marriage. It was to prevent the possible bloodshed that she was adorned with the title of Nagarvadhu, literally meaning the bride of the city. No man was considered to be worthy to possess her. She was the epitome of beauty, art, and intellect. Amrapali was chosen as the first woman disciple of Lord Buddha and followed the path of Buddhism. The history of Amrapali, the brand, is a classic love story, a story of two history students, my father Rajiv Arora and my uncle Rajesh Ajmera, sharing their mutual enthusiasm for history and art objects, sculptures, elaborate walking canes, and collectors' boxes. About 40 years ago, they founded Amrapali, inspired by the tale of the legendary Indian courtesan. Their love for history and commitment to preserving Indian jewelry and artifacts. Today, the brand continues and stays true to its Indian roots, with its powerful imagery of an ethereal beauty embracing the grace, spirituality, and complexity of emotion expressed through dance, of which Amrapali was known. Given the nature of our product, which requires sure-handed craftsmen, we began working with a few silversmiths across Rajasthan and Gujarat in the unorganized sector, families, household, cottage industries, and such. Fathers who trained their sons and nephews the craft to retain the skill within the family for generations. Our exponential growth has encouraged them to grow up in the second generation, which in turn has enabled us to build a bigger workforce. Today, we have 3 workshops in Jaipur, one dedicated to exports, and we collectively employ up to 2,000 craftsmen. About 70% of our jewelry is crafted in-house, and about 30% is still outsourced to craftsmen in smaller towns, households, cottage workshops. Amrapali Museum. This being something my father and uncle have been very passionate about since they started this business, and it is the closest thing to their heart. It is also because they've personally curated every piece of this collection, from their travels into the remote interiors of our country. They aren't qualified jewelry designers, but they want the next generation of young designers and jewelers to know about the history and origin of Indian jewelry and craftsmanship. With globalization challenging local crafts, it is an idea that's become more relevant. Aside from tribal jewelry acquisitions, the museum houses historic art objects, snuff boxes, hookahs, hand fans used for Mughal and Indian kings. Also jewelry which was made to adorn the animals like elephants, horses, and camels in the king's procession. Currently, India does not have a singular design destination that covers its immense diversity and its vacuum that Amrapali seeks to fill. We also hope that it will lead to fruitful dialogues and exchange with museums such as this around the world with an interest in Indian jewelry. Also, what I always say is that when my dad and uncle were starting Amrapali as a brand, I think the brand is there today because of the museum. So the more they fell in love with the pieces which they were seeing, the things which they were seeing, they were obviously seeing that for selling and to start a business, but at the same time they were falling in love with this. So there is no destination for someone like me who was getting into the business at that time, or a young designer who's wanting to understand what Indian jewelry is all about or Indian culture is all about. As we say, every 20 kilometers, there is a change in our dialect, there's a change in caste, religion, food habits, clothing, so does jewelry. And what better way of showing the Indian heritage other than jewelry, because that is the idea of permanence. So I think that is what this is all about. So.
Rajiv and I are friends from college. And we spent a lot of time together in colleges. At that time, the life was not as fast as today. So spending time in our group in the canteen and just walking around and being in the library and so on, the friendship grew. Later on, we thought that we should do some business together.
Because sitting in Jaipur, it was also a main center of dealing in antiques and art objects. After doing handicrafts, paintings, ivory, sandalwood, we started doing some business with old silver.
Actually, we traveled a lot. The thing was, it was a need-based journey in the beginning for business. Collecting came side by side.
Sometime when we came to know that this particular piece is lying, say, in Kekadi, we just used to take our car, go there, maybe 200 kilometers. Sometimes we were disappointed because at that time there were no WhatsApp and you don't know what they are talking about. They just say on telephone that I have this particular piece, I have fantastic necklace and this is so heavy, and you will not see another piece and you come to know that this is something, which is very, very common and nothing unusual.
We were going to South India on our journey. We went to Calicut and we were looking around for old silver jewelry. And people understood what was the meaning of whole silver jewelry, but they were not dealing in these things before.
Because when we used to go to remote areas to collect art objects, we saw people melting the silver jewelry, silver ornaments.
So they used to just hold them in front of us and tell us to select whatever you want, because eventually this will melt it. It was heartbreaking to see such beautiful art pieces being melted. We just retrieve whatever was not broken and put together as a collection. And some of the pieces are still in our collection from that time.
Sometimes we found pieces which we thought that they are very unique, difficult to see again. And I think we should keep them aside to protect them, to preserve them for this present generation and the future generation. Almost every single piece we know by heart, me and Rajesh. And we have tried to research, especially when we used to buy the piece, we used to talk about it, try to find out in the books where they have seen this piece. They had no weighing balance. So we used to carry the Spesola scale. So this was very good. We had all 50 grams, 100 grams, 500 grams. This is for 500 grams. So you just use it here and you know the weight, how much silver is in this. So this was an easy way to know,
To buy and sell.
to buy and sell also.
Things have become less and less. We can say some of the designs have almost become extinct. They don't exist anymore. So it is good that we collected and we preserved them so that other people can come and see them now. Because when you travel to those places, you don't see them anymore.
The fast way the whole culture is getting influenced by other influences, we should protect and preserve what we have. Otherwise, we'll finish.
When we started collecting, the idea of museum did not exist at that time. It was just a passion to collect beautiful things. But it grew and it gave us appreciation. It brought us appreciation from other collectors. So we wanted to bring it all under one roof. People can come here and see and understand our rich heritage, what is being shown over here.
I think now, because of this collection, we also want other people to come and see with Jaipur, and we would also like to have a good exchange, interaction with other museums, other societies who also are interested in Indian art and particularly jewelry. We wanted to show the vast Indian culture and variety of jewelry under one roof.
So I think it will be very useful for students, more for academic, it will be very useful. If they come and see what kind of art there was, what kind of hinges, what kind of repoussé or intricate filigree work or gold inlay work, and these things are there. It's really amazing to see the diversity of art. In one region also you'll find a lot of diverse pieces.
So we have nearly 2,500 pieces in the museum, and what I've done is I've put together a presentation or a slideshow for some of them. You'll keep hearing this word from me again and again, that this is one of my favorites, this is one of my favorites. So they all are. So we start with this one. It's a elephant-headed scepter from Rajasthan, dating back to 18th century. And this would basically be used in a Maharaja's regalia. The silver has been partly gilded or gold-plated, providing a pleasing contrast between the mostly gilded section and those of plain silver. Such scepters were held aloft by courtiers as they walked besides or behind the ruler during the procession. The magnificently sculpted scepter has an elephant head, and the elephant is also a symbol of royalty as well as strength. It symbolizes divinity, abundance, fertility, and wisdom. So in the Indian context, scepters were essentially components of courtly processions and ceremonies. The presence of such accoutrements indicated that the status of the enthroned ruler. We have two more of such scepters in the collection, and there is one with a lion head. Lion head being an example or a portrayal of someone who's extremely strong, someone very ferocious, very territorial. Elephant, as I was saying, something which is longevity, something which has been there for a very long time, a ruler. We have a scepter which is also in the shape of a fish. When I was talking about this, and then my dad and uncle were also mentioning that this is something which is very unusual because an elephant or a lion can be tamed and you can have a pet, or you could have a pet back then. But a fish, not very much so. So a fish is a free-spirited, right? So that is the idea that I am the ultimate ruler, I am the ultimate emperor, I am the emperor, and I cannot be in control of anyone. So there are reasons why they would have animals on these scepters. So this one is a silver-mounted coco de mer. It's a holy water container with a Gomukhi, and it's by Omersi Mauji Bhuj, 1870s, Kutch. So the body of the water carrier is crafted out of coco de mer, a sea coconut that's then been embellished in silver. Coco de mer were these coconuts which we would get in the peninsular region, mainly in the Indian Ocean, coming from Seychelles, and they will drop into the water, and they would make their journey all the way to India, and then they were found here, and then that's how they were crafted and used. So this container takes the form of a cow and is known as a Gaumukhi. So the silver spout is cow-headed, as we can see. Cows being the divine symbol of sacrifice, purity, maternal love, and righteousness. It was used by pilgrims and holy men to carry water from Ganges River. So the silver covering the lid is decorated with leafy fondant flowers, as well as two crocodiles, Ghadial, mainly, which is also what they're called, symbolizing new life emerging from water. In Hindu mythology, crocodiles represent the eternal essence of divine, and also Ghadial, as I was saying, is symbol of Ganga. So hence it was used for Ganges water. These were also used to, this was probably also used to put water on Shivalingam because of the cow head and Gaumukhi. This has a stamp at the bottom, OM stamp, Omersi Mauji. These are women tourings, very unusual ones from 19th, 20th century. Very unusual to see two of them in each leg, right? So there's a pair for each leg, which is very uncommon. The elaborate touring shaped as a fish. There are unique forms of adornment popular across the western coastline of India, particularly across the state of Maharashtra, Goa, and Upper Karnataka. This style was popular amongst all stratas of society, so the rich, poor, and even royal ladies. The pair of toe rings with the upper portion made in the form of mythical fish and the human face is always worn as a pair. So fish having a strong association with fertility and auspiciousness is a popular motif for ornaments. Interestingly, the fish bestowed as a symbol of royals was also considered a sign of independence, since fish and their movements cannot be controlled. So similar thing which I was telling you before for the scepter is a belief which was continuously there, right? I remember this necklace when I started being part of the business or joined the business, and I would see this in our fine jewelry box, and I would always think, what is this, and how what does it mean, and I was very intrigued with it from the starting. And then when the museum was being planned, I still remember we were looking at all the pieces which we had or which we can include in the museum, and this was one of the first ones which I pulled out. I said this should be part of the museum. And I still remember my dad and uncle just still asking that, let's figure out, I don't exactly remember about this one. What does this mean? I check in the books. I said, no, this is now we check all this in Google. So this is, I'm talking about 2008, 7. I still remember doing this, and so this is very, very special because it's a detachable necklace and you can wear them as bracelets. And what it says with diamond inlaid and blue enamel around is Humata Hukuta Huvasta, which means good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Words from the Avestan credo of the Zoroastrian faith. A Parsi necklace from Hyderabad, 1929, 1930 is what we think of it. But again, I mean, today in the brand, when we are designing, when we're making jewelry, we are continuously thinking about pieces which are multifunctional, multi-usable for the client. And the funny thing is they were doing this 100 years back, and so thoughtful, right? So I think again, you see those pendants today, people wear with their names, with evil eyes and all of that. And this is again done back then. So I think it's a self-evolving, or fashion or ideas do self-evolve, and then you see them in just a different form, but they're the same base, you know. Again, women toe rings, 19th, 20th century South India. A pair of gold toe rings made with the fish motif. Upper parts depict a mythical aquatic animal embellished with diamonds, rubies, inlaid in one ring, and pearls attached along the border. So base of the toe ring is made with adjustable shank. Really one of a kind, really special, because you would not see usually gold being worn in on their feet, right? And that's across the country, across the nation. So something which was not very easily found. I still remember when my uncle found this and was very excited and showed this to me, and the excitement was, this is again a learning process for me always. The excitement part was that you don't find gold diamond ones ever. So something again very unusual here. What we have here is a hookah, a water pipe, 19th century Rajasthan. So during social events, smoking hookah together was a symbolic act denoting friendship, loyalty, and solidarity. So in a hookah, the tobacco is not smoked directly like a cigarette and pipe, but the smoke is filtered through the water in the bowl, which is the base, which we can see here. And although the hookah is passed from one person to the next during a get-together, each individual has its own mouthpiece, which he fixes on the pipe, which in turns, where the smoke comes from. This particular hookah is from Rajasthan, but as you see on the screen on the right hand side, there's an installation which we have put of mukhnals. This is an image of the installation from the museum, and we have multiple of these mukhnals, and I've put one of the interesting ones on the top with the shape of the elephant head and a Muhammad sitting and a gentleman sitting at the back. Has a little cap on the trunk as well. And a very good, and a lot of these pieces which you will see have a good combination of silver and gold plated. So this was really done, and I think this was regularly done to enhance the gold in it. So these containers are made using the metal work technique known as filigree. It is a delicate, labor-intensive style requiring the deftest of touch to create lacework that scrolls and twists wispy length of metal wire, which are then soldered together to form these items of beauty. So these filigree boxes are two examples of what we have from the museum. The tiniest amount of metal, which can, when making this technique of filigree, can go a very long way. So a small piece of gold or silver is pushed through a drop plate that's been punched with holes of various thicknesses. What emerges is one continuous thread of wire that can be as fine as a single human hair. So this is possible because of the inherent ductility of the precious metal, predominantly high quality of silver, gold, but also copper. what results in a densely ornamental style of metalwork that's light on material, sumptuous in design, and delicate to the eye. On the left, we see a small rectangular trunk-shaped casket of scroll and open-work design that can confidently be attributed to a Goan master craftsman's production. And the dense decorative scheme covers the entirety of the case, consisting enamel flowers, which is very rarely found in this type of workmanship. This is about 4 feet, and the beautiful part is the combination of filigree and the flowers, the enamel work, and also those little legs which are made underneath are really beautiful. And on the right hand side, this is an elaborate silver filigree box from Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. Probably was intended for use as a betel nut, a pan box. The panel is a single hammered sheet of silver. The wire have been carefully soldered in place, scrolling pattern with the filigree work. Also, if you again see in both the boxes, there is the combination of silver and gold, which I was talking about before. So it's not overdone. It was done in the right proportion. The gold is done so that the silver talks out or stands out, right? So that is what I think adds that beautiful touch to these boxes and so many other pieces. This is a Ganga Jali from 19th, 20th century Madhya Pradesh. Ganga Jali is made in silver depicting goddess Ganga. So you can see the head on the top and Ram, Ram, Ram inscribed around the neck. So goddess Ganga is the personification of the river Ganga and is worshipped by Hindus as the goddess of purification and forgiveness. Ganga Jali is used to keep holy water for daily pujas and rituals. The round base of the Ganga Jali has god figures. It's Shiva's family, Lord Shiva's family, surrounded by floral patterns all over. And at the bottom, there's the forms of fishes of crocodile, and that can be seen. So again, we see crocodiles or gharials, which we were talking, which I was mentioning before in the O.M. Bhuj Gomukhi container, is again representing Ganga. So such connections we see regularly, or such thought processes were regularly seen in these pieces. So this is one of my favorite pieces, which we have again from O.M. Bhuj, Omersi Mauji, a silver tea set in the form of birds. So they are partridges, black partridges, and what we see is the repousse work. And so if you see O.M. Bhuj and these kind of things which were done at that time by Omersi Mauji, you will see a lot of Western influence, which is evident here. Why this is special, I feel, is because of the combination again of silver and gold, which was not done by O.M. Bhuj quite a lot. Also, if you see the workmanship on the scales of the snake and the partridge and on their skin, on their feather is outstanding, and it's very detailed. What we can also see is there is a kind of a fight or a snake trying to entangle the partridge. The snake's body is also a handle. So this being a tea set, so a hot water kettle, the heat will come all the way to the handle as well. And that's why we see 2 circuit breakers which were put. Could be ivory or I think bone. So the heat does not travel all the way to the handle, and the user can actually use it. So such simple and thoughtful things which were done back in the day. And the other small partridge which we see is almost in a charging kind of emotion, and you see both the wings up, which was used as a handle again, and that was used for a creamer or for milk or whatever. So these were really pieces of art best workmanship which you could find at that time. Both the snakes at the bottom have the logo of OM Bhuj. Yeah. This piece is a spice box, Rajasthan, UP, 1850. This is a truly magnificent spice box, gilded silver and an ode of, to the peacock, the Indian national bird. Very difficult to do this enamel in silver. Today, when we, again, back to being in the brand and in retail, and when we're creating these kind of pieces, we have the ability to find enamel which works on silver or on brass or on different metals. And then there could be enameling which is only for gold, which are two different techniques of doing enamel. So one is cold enamel, one is hot enamel. Back in the day, there was only hot enamel. To be able to do that on a silver piece was more tougher than gold, because gold could heat up and could take enamel much better, and the colors would retain, but silver was not would not do that. So to achieve those colors and to be able to do this enameling is outstanding. So you can see the careful enamel detail. We see the birds feeding and frolicking amidst the green foliage. Each image is enclosed with a floral border in a blue frame, much to the color of the bird itself. And the stand has 6 compartments, each with a hinged lid that's topped with a white sapphire. So that is, again, something which is very unusual to see those size of white sapphires put in a silver box. And then there's a bulbous handle consisting of central flower, surrounded again with 6 flowers, and each flower with 6 petals. So 6 was an auspicious number for both Hindus and Muslims. So much thought used to go behind creating such pieces. So one can but marvel at the astonishing workmanship in the spice box from the 19th century. The only other one like this, which we know exists, is the V&A Museum in London. These are miniature fragments of assorted jewelry recovered from riverbeds of South India. These are the fragments from the gold jewelry, which was believed to be offered to the sacred river by people as a part of the ritual and belief. It later recovered in archaeological excavation. These are not complete pieces, but just pendants or necklace or earrings. When travelers were traveling, they would always take the path which was by the water. They might stay there for a longer period of time, and by the water was always important for obviously consuming water or using water for bathing, and they would also create temples or do offerings on deities or shrines which they would make. So there are multiple reasons why we find these jewelry fragments or beads or gold jewelry fragments across South India or by the riverbeds. They are still found once in a while. This is an example of Thewa technique. And I, when again was part of the business and growing up in Rajasthan, in Jaipur, this art comes from or was mastered in Pratapgarh from Rajasthan, and this was used and it was done during the Mughal time. Today we have very bad examples, and I grew up usually looking at those bad examples, and I was not very impressed with Thewa work whenever I would see those, until when we made the museum and these came out, and it is one of the most beautiful art. So this in this particular one, there's an elaborate foliated silver plate which depicts 2 registers of scenes. So while the outer green band depicts scene of royal hunts in a blue, and the inner blue showcases court scenes. And the central panel supports a profusely decorated heptagonal container, probably used to serve condiments. This art was used with, again, gold wires and gold sheets and then molten glass. This is another example, and as I was telling you about Thewa work today, they would literally have a mass-produced sheet which would be stuck on glass, and this art is is nearly extinct, and they would sell this for $500-600, which is just to take a souvenir home, right? In this one again, if you see, these are complementary narratives of and these unique hexagonal goblets made in the Theva technique. And the first vase depicts images of royal hunt, royal recreations and amusements, the goddesses of learning, Saraswati, besides the celestial women or Apsaras. And the second one, the second vase invokes religious scenes of Lord Krishna and his beloved Radha, musicians, hunting scenes, besides the other courtly pleasures. You see the faces, the eyes, the details, the face of the animals. I think this is one of the most beautiful art and something which is nearly finished now. This is a female figure, a fish stand from 18th, 19th century Odisha. It's a decorative element on the end of a royal's palanquin, carrying pole. So a palki with a carrying on the end of the palki. So she hails from the Orissa region on the Bay of Bengal, an area where fish play a significant role in lives of the coastal communities. A delicate lotus flower garland is draped around her neck, and you see lots of graceful folds on her garment, which is like a rhythmic waves of the gentle sea. An Indian version of mermaid, and she's coming, and the whole sculpture is coming out of a mouth of a fish as well. So it's an Indian mermaid, right? There's a cross-cultural aspect to the Silver Sea goddess, who bears a relationship to the mermaids of European folklore. She was created around the late 18th, 19th century, a time when British vessels were familiar to those that lived on the coast. Many of these ships had carved figureheads on their bow, which were thought to ward off evil and bring good luck. These are anklets, 19th century Rajasthan. These anklets were worn by women in Marwar, and these anklets are to be worn together, and they're also known as kadiya. The wooden and brass case is made to keep and store the anklets in place, and is made in such a way that they can take them out easily and keep in the same order every time they wear. Again, such a simple design. I think beautifully crafted, planned with a handle on the top, which also in turns is a screw. So these can come out, and they are shaped in the conical way where they can go as a cone, as from the wider ones to the less wide of them on the top. Such simple things, very easy to pick up, keep on your dressing table in those days, I'm guessing. So something very simple and still so well planned and well, kept. And this is the last slide I have here. It is a gold braid ornament, Jarai Nangam from Tamil Nadu, 19th century. Gold braid was worn by the Hindu bride or Bharatnatyam dancers, and formerly used by temple dancers or devdasis. So this ornament has the form of multi-headed cobra, Ananta Prabhu, so which intertwined coil falls all the way to the bottom. As a symbol of fertility, the snake form has been incorporated into many ornaments in the south. And it was crafted from sheet of gold and set with gems and strung to take the shape of a plate. The Jarai Nangam is a composite jewel made up of several elements, as you can see here. Right on the top is the naga, as we said, the cobra head, and then rubies, cat's eye, white sapphires, and below is a long Jarai-shaped tapering plate and ending with a tassel right at the end, which prevents from the plate to unravel. We have more examples of a choti in the museum. There is one again from South, because this was mainly worn in the South, with gold work and temple work, and it's completely full of gold. And again, the same thing, the miniature work. You see the Krishna, it's got Krishna made on it, and you see the whole childhood of Krishna and the growing up of Krishna, and you see Bal Gopal right at the bottom as well. And again, you almost need a magnifying glass to see it, but the eyes and the nose are the most beautifully done. So yeah, that's it by me.